Hey, everybody. So excited to get to hang out week 9 of 5 levels. This is where we're talking about the upside and downside of pinnacle leadership. Pinnacle leadership better be all of y'all's desire. Like all of y'all hopefully want to be a pinnacle leader. So we will start with this question. In your opinion, what core leadership traits do you possess? There's a follow-up question to this, but question number 1, what core leadership traits do you possess?
What are the options?
Unlimited. I mean, you know what you look for in a leader, right? Do you want me to give options? You're looking so serious. Okay, options. Integrity, drive, work ethic, honesty, ability to connect well with others, ability to ask good questions, ability to listen well. Basically all the things that make a good leader. What traits do you naturally possess? For me, I naturally possess the ability to be a fantastic listener. I don't have to work hard at it. It just rolls right off. It's easy for me. That is not true, y'all. Not true. Example, trait I naturally possess. I tend to be extremely disciplined. I can be extremely disciplined. I have drive. That is natural for me. Not natural being a good listener. But this is me listening because I'm hoping you're going to tell me what natural leadership traits some of you possess.
You're asking us humble people to brag on ourselves.
Sorry. Where the Reds at? Where the Reds?
I mean, how much time do you have?
Thank you, Michelle.
I am an encourager. And so I will call out things I see in people and build them up. And I love to cast vision. And I could do that for days.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, Brittany tells me I'm a good listener. So I don't know yet if I believe her or not, but she tells me that I am. I mean, I generally have a good attitude and am optimistic for sure. Yeah.
I agree with both of y'all's comments. And you know what's interesting? This is not part of level 5 leadership talk tonight, but do y'all know before I believed Emily and Michelle, because of my personal experience, I believed that those were their strengths because Brittany told me so. Brittany told me so. Like as part of integrating people into a leadership club, you work on edifying people's strengths so that other people aren't threatened by them. They can appreciate their strengths. And so before I got to experience Michelle being an encourager or Emily being a great listener, I knew to expect that because Brittany told me so. And so I looked for ways to prove her right, which is why all of our friendships are so deep, because Brittany figured out, I don't know how she knew it intuitively, probably because it's a natural trait she possesses, but she intuitively knew that if you don't teach people how to appreciate other people's strengths, it's a breeding ground for comparison or jealousy or whatever. So that's just a side note, but I do agree with you guys now from personal experience. Those are natural traits. What else?
I mean, I feel like I possess integrity and honesty, which I feel like those two go hand in hand. I'm pretty honest about everything, even if I shouldn't be.
I was gonna say I agree with that. You're honest about it, even if it's unbecoming. Like if you have to acknowledge an unbecoming truth, you are willing to do that. It's ownership. Yep, I agree with that, Rachel.
I connect well with others. It comes easily for me.
Yep.
I feel like I am really good at reading through what people are saying to what they really are meaning, what they're really trying to say.
Like discernment?
I guess so, yeah. Like in a listening way, just being able to like figure out what people are really trying to say.
I love that. I don't know what the word is for that, but
That's going to make you a great coach, Shannon.
I was about to say the same. What's the word for that? Is it discernment? What is that?
I feel like that's discernment.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily take what they're saying at face value. You're looking for underlying or that's great, Shannon. That's good. Intuition, maybe intuition. Yeah. That's good. April, I don't know if I can't see her right this second. Where'd she go? One of her fantastic strengths is she can take a very complex something and make it seem like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay. I can do that. She's a fantastic breaker downer. Fantastic. Britt, what's your natural leadership trait? I mean, I could list them, but
Well, I'm strong in vision,
word.
and I believe in other people's potential, and I'm willing to help people reach their potential. I can be patient with people for the most part. I'm a good coach.
You are a great coach, but you nailed it when you said, I don't see people where they are. I see where I think I could get them. That really is a nice trait to have, because that is something that I have to be really intentional. I tend to be like, I mean, show me your cards once. I'm going to take it what the cards say. And you're always like, no, but what if you develop, or what would it be then? Okay. Among the traits you just listed, which of them would you consider to be a natural trait, and which ones have required much development? And I always want to ask Brittany this, because the line between where she began to develop and before she developed, it's real fuzzy. Like, she'd been developing a long time. So I'm always like, okay, is this just something natural? Like, am I just missing it? Or like, did you grow that? Tell me which one. Because if you can grow it, I'll grow it. But if you're born that way, I'll just give up on that trait. I'll focus on a different trait. So tell me.
Does that mean I get to give up on discipline then? You
You are
said
disciplined.
discipline
Stop
comes
playing.
natural for you. That means I'm a lost cause. I don't have to work hard on
It
that.
don't come natural. It just,
That's what you said. That's what we going with.
oh, well, it ain't natural. It's because I've seen the consequence of what happens when I'm not disciplined. And that scares me much more than the pain of being disciplined. So I just choose to let that be a natural one. I don't know what a natural trait I possess is. Maybe, I don't know, not being emotionally attached, being void. of
Definitely
emotion.
drive.
Drive.
Definitely drive. The
Yeah.
drive, yes.
So which ones did you possess naturally, and which ones have to answer two questions? What was a natural trait, and what trait that you possess do you think required much development? Only one answer for each.
What were the options again? I don't know. I just know we were at convention a couple weeks ago, and Lori Welch was like, Brittany, do you remember how frustrating you were to me in the beginning? You were so frustrating. And I was like, I know, I need you to come do a call for my team and let everybody know just how frustrating I was to you, because now I am a 5-star diamond. So it was worth the frustration, right? I just need my leaders to know, don't give up on their people. So I think, I don't know what I mean. So I do care deeply about wanting to help other people succeed. Like, I think I don't know if it's natural. I would say it's probably the Holy Spirit, which I had before I started my Plexus business. But I don't want it to be all about me all of the time. I definitely want to help other people succeed. That I've had that desire from the beginning. So I don't know if that's natural or because I love Jesus, but that's there.
It's not because you love Jesus, because I also love Jesus, and I have had to cultivate this art.
I was literally about to say the same thing.
Yeah,
Like, me and Jesus are good, but starting out, my desire was not to help other people succeed. And it may be just because I really did not realize how much my success would come from helping other people be successful.
yeah,
That's definitely something that I've had to learn.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's what it is then. Maybe that comes from my vision, because I did realize that from the beginning. And so I was very motivated to help. Like, I knew I wasn't going to get to diamond by myself. And another thing is, like, I feel like it's just a biblical principle. And just like you said earlier, Christina, about how you said, I don't know how Brittany knew to point out people's strengths or how to get people to work together as a team. Also a biblical principle, like, it literally a description of the church. Like, one body, all the different parts, like the eye can't try to be the hand, that whole bit. That applies to team building. And so I think, like I said, I think it's just from reading the Bible and just applying biblical principles to what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, I was just going to say, and I also think, I mean, both Brittany and I have natural proclivity. I mean, I'm a certified life coach, but I still have had to invest. I spent hours and hours and hours learning how to coach people, even though that's my natural proclivity, and I'm an encourager. And so I want to draw that out, but I needed to invest and learn and study and learn and study and study and study. So even though it may come naturally to me, I still dug in the trenches so I can be excellent in the things that I'm naturally good at. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to be a coach to be successful or this or that, but whatever the area of strength is, you still have to cultivate that, because those are God, like Brittany said, these are all biblical principles. God gives us gifts and talents and strengths, but what we do with them, parable of the talents, what we do with them is our gift back to God. And so we have a responsibility to develop that in whatever area it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then me also on the side trying to Google what proclivity means. But yes, I totally agree with that. And I do think some of it is natural. Like from the beginning, before April knew that developing other people was going to help her become a diamond, she cared deeply that whoever was working be successful in what they were doing deeply. And I'd be like, girl, leave them, like drop them like a bad habit. They ain't taking you nowhere fast. Let's move on. She'd be like, I can't. Like, they're showing up. I got to figure out how to help them be successful. So definitely is a predisposition and different personality traits. That's good. Okay. Upside of Pinnacle. Basically, at this level, your influence has expanded beyond your reach and your time. Okay. So a Pinnacle leader, upside number 1, creates a level 5 organization. Okay. And that's important because he says many organizations seem to struggle to maintain their existence, and others have to work hard to inch their way toward growth. Meanwhile, a few organizations rise above the rest and seem to function at extraordinarily high levels. What's their secret? Leadership. This pertains to Plexus because I've seen this play out in so many different teams across the board. I've seen other teams who will seem like they've got things going in the right direction, and everything rises and falls on leadership. And so they what's it called? Like fizzle out. They fizzle out well before their time. Like, had they had leadership at the primary focus, they could have gone much further. But because our leadership has been so solid and we've always had a growth mindset from the beginning, it was not ever wait until you become an emerald to start learning and growing. It's always been an expectation from the jump. If you want to be developed, then you're going to have to take part into the growth mindset activities that we have. You're going to have to participate in team calls. You're going to have to be a part of book club. Like, it's a non-negotiable on our team. We've always had that as a priority, even over something that looks like quick results or quick success. It's why we're solid and sure, and we're not easily swayed by the next bright thing or the next shiny thing. It's why we just kind of stay true to who we are. It's also why we're so concerned with leaders developing leaders. The goal is to not make our leader as strong as possible. The goal is not that Brittany shine or I shine or Michelle shine or April shine. It's that there's lots of us shining, so that when corporate is looking for someone somewhere, they can know they can come to Freedom Team and there's going to be a plethora of leaders to choose from. We want to have a massive amount of them. The goal is to make leaders who are creating other leaders who are creating other leaders. Okay, so examine your own team. What do you think it will require for this sentence to be true for you? When one leader steps down or retires, there are many leaders ready and able to take their place, because level 5 organizations have a pipeline of leaders being produced. So for that to be true with your team, what must take place? What's got to change? What do we have to improve on so that if and when the time ever comes for you to step down, there's lots of leaders who are, be ready to be raised up to where you are. And it's so funny that this is the chapter we're on this week, because I've been having some interesting conversations with several of my leaders. Like, what do you think it takes for us to create so many leaders that when we step down, it almost is seamless? Like, no one, not that we're stepping down, but I'm saying, question is, What do you think it will require for this sentence to be true? When one leader steps down or retires, there are many leaders ready and able to take their place.
I feel like equipping them. So teaching them, like showing them, having them do it and tweaking it, and then allowing them to step in on their own. And doing that by not always answering questions, like empowering them to grow on their own 2 feet, but with your support so they know you're there.
I feel like it's a very simple process. It is like, here's the job description. Share health and happiness with others, help others do the same. And that's a very simple, in a nutshell, explanation of what we do. But if you master that, you will be a level 5 leader. If you can effectively master your skill, master your trade, which is we are in sales. If you can effectively master the skill of recruiting and duplication and retention, then you can teach other people how to do the same thing. You're going to be a level 5 leader. It starts with you, the leader, mastering things yourself, because you can't teach others what you don't have. So you have to raise your own leadership lid. And as you're doing that, you're teaching other people what you're learning and what you know.
I totally agree. I think sometimes the idea of this whole leadership thing is so misconstrued. We make it so much more complicated than it is. Leadership is simply helping people who want to be successful find success. Helping the people who want to master what you're doing, helping them master it. So, yeah, man, that's good. Okay. Upside number 2, pinnacle leadership creates a legacy within the organization. Level 5 leaders are measured by the caliber of leaders they develop, not the caliber of their own leadership. Man, there's going to come a time when people no longer care how great you are. It will be irrelevant. You will be old news. And you, I mean me, like we will be old news. What will be impressive is who are the leaders that are coming next? Who did we create? Like who's coming in our wake? So what does that quote mean to you? Level 5 leaders are measured by the caliber of leaders they develop, not the caliber of their own leadership. What does that quote mean to you?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is others. Like the whole sentence was about developing others, which you can't do if you're focused on yourself. And how many you've recruited that month and how many silvers you've developed and how many, I don't know, follow-ups you've sent, all the things, like how many events I've hosted, but how much of that is have you helped your team do?
Yep. It definitely makes you take the focus off of yourself. It's not about what we can create by ourselves or what we can accomplish by ourselves. You're only as good as what you can teach someone else to do. I mean, think about it. If you were to break it down, you're only as good as the number of people. That's not enough that you earned a shopping spree. How many people now can you help earn the same shopping spree next year? Who are you going to help come where you've gone? It's important that you lead the way. You should be going and showing the way, but you should be reaching a hand out and bringing other people with you. I think as leaders, we always judge ourselves by this. I think we've got to start judging ourselves by how am I doing as a leader? The answer to that question is how are the people that you're leading doing? How are you doing as a leader? Depends. How are the people that you're leading doing? If you feel like you're crushing it and your entire team feels like they're overwhelmed, underappreciated, they're scattered, they don't feel like they're finding success, they're unsure of what to do, you ain't doing so fine. And then in the same regard, if you're feeling these things, but yet your team is thriving and things are working, and then you get to sit back and say, okay, as a leader, my team is doing well. That must mean I've got some things figured out. How are the people that I'm leading doing? Do they learn? Do they manage conflict? Do they initiate change? If not, what must you become so that they can begin doing those things? This is ownership. If your team is not initiating change, if they're not learning, if they're not handling conflict. What must you become? Okay. Upside number 3, Pinnacle Leadership provides an extended platform for leading. So this is where people outside of their direct sphere of influence will hear about them and seek them out for advice. You guys, you see this play out with our team in corporate all the time. We see them asking leaders on our team to be on stage in front of thousands. We see them asked to lead calls virtually in front of tens of thousands. We ask them to do all of these things, and these people aren't asked at random. They're recognized because they are developing leaders. They're creating an organization of level 5 leaders. So, question. If you desire a platform with corporate or with other teams, or if you want to be a visible leader, what are some things you can start doing right now to set yourself up for that in the future?
Well, I think just putting yourself out there is one thing. I mean, start small. Start with speaking up on these book club calls, because you know what? There's a lot of jewels in our company that want these calls every week, and their teams are plugging into them because they realize what we have here in Freedom Team with leadership and with growth and development. So I think that's a fantastic place to start. But outside of that, I mean, what does your branding look like? How are you posting? When's the last time you did a training just for anybody and put it on YouTube? So you have things on your YouTube channel that they can go and look at. I mean, just put yourself out there. That's, I think, the biggest thing that you can do.
I agree. You asked, what does your Brandon look like? Mine's 6'2", dark-headed, real dark brown eyes.
You know, not that kind, but the other kind where you're posting on social media.
Gotcha.
The southern kind.
Southern Brandon. I agree. Start by speaking up. Start by speaking up. You guys, listen, a training video could be a 4.5-minute answer to a question that you got from a teammate that day. If somebody comes and says, oh my gosh, I made my first post and someone wants to know information, and you take the time to respond, she's on the call, so she knows who I'm talking to. You take the time to respond. It's okay to turn right around and go make a 3-minute YouTube video and say, what should you say when someone responds to your first Plexus post? What should you say and make a quick 3-minute video, stick that junk on YouTube, title it aptly so people can find it. There you go. There's you a solution. And if YouTube is scary, do it in the team page. Go make a quick 2-minute live in the team page and say, hey, y'all, I have somebody new who's open to sharing. And she did her first post today and someone reached out to her. She reached out to me to ask how to respond. And I just thought I would share here with you guys what I told her to do. That is one way for you to just add value to the whole team. You start adding value to the team and then it expands and it expands. I mean, you nailed it, Emily. Nailed it. Okay. So here we come to the call every week. There's an upside and then there's always a downside. The good news, he says, is that by the time you have reached pinnacle leadership, and how do you know if you've reached pinnacle leadership? First of all, it's a journey. I don't know that anybody, and he talks about this in here, about kicking your feet up. If you have developed level 4 leaders, you can confidently say you are sitting on the surface of pinnacle leadership. Like you've made your way there. It's not guaranteed you stay there, but you are getting there. So if you have level 4 leaders, like we did level 4 the last 2 weeks, if you can confidently say so-and-so on my team is that, just know you can't raise somebody to level 4 if you're not knocking on the door of level 5. Okay. By the time you've reached pinnacle leadership, your emotional maturity level is at an all-time high. Hallelujah. This is why, this is if leaders, think about it this way. The downside of most levels of leadership comes because leaders become victims of certain things. They become victims of certain mindsets or certain beliefs. At level 5, your emotional maturity is high, which makes you much less likely to become victims of those things than it did at any other level. So that's the good news. Here's some downsides. Number 1, being on a pinnacle level can make you think you have arrived. If you look at your journey with a destination mindset, you may think that pinnacle is a place to rest, smell the roses, and make the most of your privileges. He says, if that is your mindset, beware. Y'all, if that's your mindset at any rank, beware. We see it happen time and time again. Somebody hits the rank they're going for, and they feel like they've deserved to take their foot off the pedal and coast. They think, oh, I made it to this rank. My team will carry me to the next. He says, beware. He talked about his friend Jim, who wrote in the book, How the Mighty Fall, that those who fall often fall because they have an entitlement mindset bolstered by arrogance. You guys listen, the people that he's talking about, they're unaware that that's how they feel. Nobody wants to be entitled with a bolsterous of arrogance. It's unaware of it. But here's how they get there. They begin to view their success as deserved rather than fleeting or even hard earned. He says people begin to believe that success will continue almost no matter what the organization decides to do. Why is this a harmful thought? To think that your success will continue almost no matter what the organization decides to do.
Well, I feel like at that point, if that's what you're genuinely thinking, then you're not going to be changing, which means you're not going to be growing anymore. And so everyone else around you in the organization is raising their lid and they're going to outgrow you. So then you can't be a level 5 leader.
I feel like you're looking at my notes. I mean, that's exactly right. Because if you have decided that your success will continue, gone will be the fire that fuels you to learn and grow and think innovatively and creatively. You'll assume that what's always worked will always work. You'll assume that because it's always been done this way, it should always be done this way, which will make you closed-minded to others people's ideas. It's a terrible, I mean, yeah, it's a problem. Things are constantly changing. We're in the people business and people don't stay the same. They don't stay the same. Downside number 2, being on the pinnacle level can lead you to believe your own press. John was a little feisty at this part, I thought he was a little feisty, okay? I'm gonna try and take it the nicest way possible. And when I see him in Nashville, I'll ask him about it. He says, if you become a level 5 leader, never forget that like everyone else, you started at the bottom as a positional leader. You had to work hard to build relationships. You had to prove your productivity, and investing in the lives of others came only with effort. He says, be confident, but also be humble. If you've become successful, it's only because a lot of other people helped you along the way. What are some things that you can practice often that will help you stay humble as you advance through the ranks?
Saying thank you.
Reflection.
Saying thank you. I heard Brittany say that. Who else? Who was that? I didn't catch that.
It was me. I was saying reflecting, acknowledging where you started and where, the people you're leading are at now and what it took to get there, the grit and the trenches that you had to fight through. That way you don't, you're still in trenches. You're just in different ones. You go up one hill and down into the other, and you continue up the other side, and you show people the path through.
Mm-hmm. Congrats on your engagement, Nicole. Yes, I agree. Saying thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, my service is really sketchy tonight. I just constantly feel like praying and asking the Lord to keep us humble and just asking him to lead us, because he will lead us. And like, so constantly in my business, and I had to do this the last few days because of something, to be honest, that I felt like pride came up in my heart, even about what I've been learning personally. And like, I was really kind of being arrogant, and the Lord convicted me of that. And I had to really give that to the Lord. And I feel like I have to stay humble and ask the Lord to constantly search my heart and help me in that, because I don't want to be prideful. I don't want to be arrogant, and I don't want to think I know everything. I want to constantly be learning more. And so I think prayer and being real and vulnerable is very important.
I love that. I think another thing that you can do is be open to other people's ideas. I think arrogance, so with success comes confidence, right? As you succeed, you begin to think, okay, I've got some things figured out. And if you're not careful, if you don't remember that you started at the bottom, just like everybody else, then that can breed into arrogance. So I think for me, something that helps with me is being open to other people's ideas, even if it's totally, in my opinion, like didn't expect it. It was out of left field. It wasn't what I thought. Just stopping and saying, okay, what if this is a great idea? And then just saying, tell me more about that. Like, oh, tell me more about that. I'm telling you, the last couple of days, I I've been given so many things to chew on that had I had an arrogant spirit, I would have missed the mark. And so being open and always just asking some questions, I think is a good idea also.
To piggyback on that, recently I have asked, or Christina has, agreed to jump in my 3-way chats with me, several of them that I hope that are new business builders, new workers. And part of me for a second was like, oh my gosh, this is mortifying. I've been doing this for 4 years and I still need Christina's help. And then when I realized, I need Christina's leadership. I need her expertise because I have things that I need to figure out. So I just opened it up wide open and was like, all right, help me. I need direction. I want to be vulnerable. And so I had to kind of put that aside, that what I thought I should have known what to do, and, just take her leadership and her advice, which is working out well.
It is working out well. It is working out well. And even this process with you has been a learning curve of just trying to be humble and analyze my own leadership. Like, okay, what is it going to take for me to help her move forward? And what have I assumed that, she already knew or whatever? Just everybody being willing to go back to, okay, what are the basics? And if we're unsure of the mastery of there, we start there. We start there and we just move things along. Yeah, I love that. And Jackie, you're always very open to constructive criticism. It's why it is so easy to partner with you, because it's not emotional or dramatic. It's just like, hey, I want to grow. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to change this. This ain't working, change it. You're like, okay, what should I change it to? So I appreciate that about you. Yeah, I think
I appreciate you not telling me my messages suck, but maybe you can spin it this way.
What if we try this instead? or my favorite is, how is that message working for you?
Right.
Like, well, it's not. I'm like, okay, want to do something different?
How's that response rate?
Oh, that's why I love you, Jackie. I think staying humble is something that we've got to make sure that we always do. It's why our company is different, because of humility at the top all the way down. It's why the One Plexus culture exists, because everybody realizes, like when somebody says, hey, could you make a video about this? I remember all of the videos we used to devour because people were willing to make videos for us. Sonia, Sarah, there were so many who were willing to give of their ideas and their time and their resources to develop us. So absolutely, I can put a training on YouTube. Absolutely, I can troubleshoot this 100% because other people were willing to do that. I remember when I decided to accept the offer to be a dual trainer, and talking to my husband, he's like, well, like he's a businessman. So he's like, okay, how does this grow your paycheck? I'm like, it doesn't. It doesn't actually grow my paycheck, but here's what it does. It does grow my influence, and it allows me the opportunity to give back. I went to dual school. There were dual trainers there who invested in us so much that didn't grow their paycheck as a result of it. And so, man, just being willing to give back, that's what's going to keep our company set apart from other companies where it's cutthroat and nasty and weird. Okay. Downside number 3, being on the pinnacle can make you lose focus. Here's what this means to me. When you get to the top, there's going to be a lot of people who want your time. They want your knowledge. They want your wisdom, and they aren't going to be shy about asking for it. People are going to want you to help them grow to where you've gotten. And it's not always going to be people that you necessarily directly impact. So here's what I'm grateful for. Brittany taught me a long time ago, be really careful what you say yes to. If you say yes to something, just know it's going to mean you say no to something else. So if you say yes to this good thing, and then another great thing comes along, your integrity is on the line. So you have to follow through with what you said yes. So just know you may have to miss something great. And so learning to say no to good things in order to keep your focus. And her and I have both practiced that in regards to corporate. There are some corporate things we say yes to, and there are some corporate things that we have to politely decline because our focus is on where are we going, who are we taking with us, and what do they need? And if whatever we're being asked to do does not align with what's in the best interest of those things, then we have to politely decline. The higher you go in leadership, the more people are going to notice. And the more people notice, the more they're going to want to pick your brain and ask for your time. So guard your time. it can feel extremely flattering and motivating, and you're going to want to just freely give your time away. So just be selective in what you choose to say yes to, so that you don't lose focus on what is the most important. Sometimes for me, when I'm asked, I'm a type 3 achiever, you guys. So that is what I love a lot. And I have to stop and think, okay, what are my top priorities in my family, in my business, in my team, in my whatever? And does this align across the board? And if not, it's got to be a no. And sometimes it's a no to, I'll call Brittany like, but can't I just say yes? It'll be so fun. She'll be like, no, it ain't, it's not in alignment. So just keeping yourself in alignment. Okay. As leaders who reach the pinnacle want to make the most of their time there, they must remain focused on their vision and purpose and continue pursuing that at the highest level. So what should leaders do in order to maintain their focus? What happens when you do hit that rank that feels so far away, but you, in your brain, you've decided, when I get there, I'll have arrived. When that happens and you're there, what must you do in order to keep focus? What are some things that we can have in place so that we stay focused on moving ahead?
I think good habits, like creating those good habits now and having a discipline in those habits. I've been reading books on habits and trying to be disciplined in all the things that I do. And I hope that will continue to help me as I rise to know like what my most effective things that I need to do are, and making those a priority.
I like the example he gave in the book where he said he lost focus because they hit their goal and then they didn't have another goal. So I like to do a short-term goal and a long-term goal, and like always have that long-term goal in mind. So your short-term goal is what the milestone is, but the long-term goal is the vision that you and your people are buying into.
I love that.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, Syra. I think your why always has to evolve, because otherwise you'll do exactly what Christina said. You'll get to the goal and then you'll become stagnant because you don't know what else to focus on or why you're even doing this, because you hit the goal. So you have to develop a new why. And sometimes that takes time. It definitely took me time after I hit diamond, probably because I had worked toward that goal for so long and was laser focused on it for so long. And then I hit it, didn't just hit it, flew past it. It was shocking. And it did take me time to adjust to that and then figure out what's going to drive me now to do things that are uncomfortable when I don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's almost verbatim off of my notes. They must maintain their focus by continuing to expand their why and work toward goals. When a leader stops setting goals, letdowns can happen. And so I think you just have to stay focused. It's kind of like with fitness. So like, we like to travel. And so can be super laser focused on a fitness goal leading up to a trip. That's a short-term goal, right? And then I get to my trip and I really enjoy myself. And if I did not have a long-term why am I doing what I'm doing? When I got home, I could continue that negative behavior, not really negative behavior, that temporary behavior that I took on my trip. Like on my trip, I indulge, I whatever. When I get home, if I didn't have a long-term goal, like if that trip, being the leanest for that trip was the only goal, when I got home, that behavior would continue. The overindulging, the whatever, that would continue. And then I'd end up further from the long-term goal. So always, it's exactly what you said, short-term goal, long-term. I love that. Okay. That's not good. I'm not gonna skip it. Okay, here we go. This is how we'll close out the night. I think one thing that Brittany mentioned very early on in the call, she said, a natural trait of mine is not seeing someone where they are, but seeing where they could get to with development. If I develop them, I know they could get to here. So describe a time when something you had initially identified, when something you initially identified as a setback actually turned out to be a valuable lesson for you as a leader. Sometimes, here's what I notice. Someone hits a setback. someone is a setback. Something happens and there's a setback and we think, okay, well, this might be the end of the road, or this must mean something. But there are times in my business where something that could have been a setback actually turned out to be a very, very valuable lesson for me as a leader. So let's identify some of those times. And what I hope will happen from this conversation is you'll recognize your ability to move forward after a setback, but by default, you'll recognize that humans have the ability to move forward after setbacks. And if we're looking for ways to help them move forward after a setback, we'll find ourselves much less frustrated with them during the setback. So a time when a setback actually turned out to be a valuable lesson for you as a leader.
I had a builder that came in super hot and they fizzled out very quickly. I was not prepared in my leadership ability of how to handle them or how to help them or how to keep them from hurting themselves in their business. And I mean, what started as like my points flying up and momentum ended up going just as quickly backwards. And I had to learn a lot of different lessons out of that, but I definitely learned a lot of good ones that I am very mindful of going forward with all of my new builders. So it was a positive thing, even though it felt really negative.
I had to learn that failure is a choice and you don't just fail, and that when you perceived fail, you're actually learning and moving forward.
Love that. I read a quote one time that said, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And it's up to you whether or not you attach a negative thought to an experience. An experience is just an experience. It's not positive or negative. A business builder quitting, not positive or negative. You failing forward, not positive or negative. Points being up, not positive or negative, until we attach an emotion. So experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Applied experience is going to turn into wisdom and knowledge if you apply it in the right way. What else?
Well, I mean, I've had a whole lot, but the big one that comes to mind for me is when that time that I missed Ruby Retreat. You know, I mean, that was a huge setback for me, especially I had been the year before. Everybody expected me to be there. It was a very public setback, right? And it was a hard thing for me to walk through, but in doing that, I learned a lot of things. Number one, that I could keep going, you know, quitting was not an option. So I could keep going. Number two, the people that rallied around me in that moment, Brittany was there, you were there, like there's so like all of my inner circle, all of our, you know, core people were there and just really rallied around me to lift me up and encourage me in that utter disappointment. Really showed me, number one, people care, you know, that we are so others focused here, and it's not just who's making me money, who's, you know, helping me go up or down in points. It's not about that. It's truly about relationships. But it showed me how to treat other people around when I see them in the same situation, right? But then, you know, I came back from it, obviously, and grew and all the things. And so that just, I said over and over, you know, my struggle and crawling out of that will be hugely beneficial for other people down the road when they see my story and hear it, because we're all going to have things that we don't hit and that we're going to miss and that we're going to fail, and we're going to feel like, let me go crawl under a rock, because now everybody knows, you know, it's not my little secret failure. Everybody knows about it. And so being able to have that to help other people through big and small things, that's been huge. But also just really how y'all rallied around me has changed a whole lot, you know, in how I can love on other people going through the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough. And that's the thing. I mean, everybody's going to have blips on their journey where that feels like, ooh, that was hard. Ooh, that was hard. And the fact of the matter is, it's just a matter of how many times are you willing to get back up and keep going? Everybody who is at the top has blips in their journey. Every single one, every single person who's at the top, aside from maybe Celeste, has points in their business where they think, this is it. Like I could walk away and no one would blame me. That's how it was when I missed Senior Ruby. I mean, there were people who are like, okay, well, like if you quit, we won't blame you. And I'm like, huh? Quit? I ain't quitting. Like that's not an option. So the only other option is pull up your big girl, you know what, and let's just figure out how to do the next right thing. And so as a leader, when somebody is in a struggle, just helping them figure out what's the next best thing. What can they do to go get the next win under their belt? Nina, did you have something to say, babe?
So I typed because I probably shouldn't, I will be crying, but Emily said a lot of what I was going to say. We all have these things, right? And mine's like so fresh. I'm probably in one of the a really difficult time. And so just what you said about how the people in our community just rally around, and sorry, I'm crying because it's not like that big of a deal. I'm much better, but when I remember when I first started coming onto the team and I got there so quickly, and you can't imagine like what happens, and lots of life happens, and so I feel like all of a sudden I started and I didn't know what this is about, and then all of a sudden I'm Ruby, and now you're Ruby, and then life happens to you and everybody else around you, and it's like, whoa. And kind of like what Michelle said, you can be trained in how to deal with people, but when it's you, and when it's not just one thing, as Emily was talking about, it's not just like it was just you missed it, was this. I'm sure you had plenty of other things that were going on as well, right? So it's like you're just taking on so many hits. And my experience was that just very recently, I was like, I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm so like, the water is so here. And if someone doesn't just grab me up by my hair and say, girl, just take a breath, something real simple, and so I had, and I'll be happy to share with you guys. I had a day after many, many really hard days. And I'm like, I'm just going to be brave. And I picked up the phone and I left a message for Michelle and Deirdre and said, you guys, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't even know where to start. It's so many things have gone on around me in my life. I don't know how to do plexus anymore. And that was like, how can this even be? And then Deirdre just said, well, of course, all the loving things. Deirdre said, Nina, do 3, 2, 1. And you guys, it was like ice water in a desert, and so, and then to be able to say, like, you, Emily, like, I know that I can use that because I'm going to have plenty of people on my team, and I do, unfortunately, who are in that very same season of having health challenges, and they're going to be looking like, well, what do I do? And I know that feeling, and I can have even more compassion than I had before. I think I'm pretty compassionate, but I really, really know, like, yeah, like I don't even know. And I felt like, talk about failing forward. It's not, you can say that, but there's a process too. Like you need someone to walk you through that. And so what we do as leaders is so very important. And I just want to say, I'm so grateful that we teach that we foster that we exhibit that, because we need that. And as you talk about like the legacy that's left when you guys are gone, I know that will still be there. When Christina and Brittany are out on the beach and not even paying attention to us very much, that will still be happening. And that is golden. That is so valuable. And that's a joy to behold in this season as we're building. And so I love that. So I didn't cry too bad. Thank you. So I was going to say that. So thank you.
You're so welcome. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. And listen, I'm a type 3. I ain't going nowhere. Y'all are stuck with me. Stuck right with me. You ain't going to find more driven people than Britt and I. And so until everybody that has, leadership is helping the people who want to be successful, helping them succeed. So y'all keep bringing the people who want to succeed. We're going to keep right on developing. That's the plan. Man, that was good. I'm going to receive all of that, Nina, every bit of it. Britt, you got anything to add before we close?
So your question was, what setbacks taught you leadership lessons?
Basically, identify a setback that actually turned out to be a valuable lesson.
Okay, well, I'm like Emily, I have a list, but one of the first ones was I had a senior gold on my team who was a level 1 that I had developed and that I had invested a lot of time into not just her business, but just just the relationship with her. And then she quit on me. She didn't quit on me. She quit on herself, but it felt like she quit on me. And so what I learned through that was a lot of things. First of all, be careful who you give a platform of influence to. My business never hinges on any one person. Sometimes when people quit, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. Because I always, my first response is self-reflect, blame myself. Like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And just, it took me a long time to figure out the problem wasn't me. So, and then it helped me develop grit because it felt very, very personal. It felt very hard. It hurt my belief. It was difficult. And I wondered, like, oh my gosh, are other people going to quit? Like, it just caused a lot of thoughts to come up. And so it taught me that I can keep going, that I can develop new business builders, and I can be smarter about it when I do it in the future.
We ain't quitting. You stuck with us too. Stuck like glue, baby. Yeah, man, I remember that too. And we've been through some hard things. That's what's so fun. It's like I said on the team call the other night, when people hit a hard thing, it's like, wait, tell me again. Like it's okay. We all have them. And we should just expect that the trials will come up. They're going to come up in everything. They're going to come up in parenting and in marriage and in fit. Like, they're just going to come up. And so if we just expect that they will arise, we won't be so shocked when they happen. It's just normal. This is normal when you deal with people. And this is a people business. So it's just going to continue to be that way. All right. So next week, we are wrapping up with beliefs and behaviors of level 5 leaders. Save the best for last. Britt is going to close out this book for us. If you've not yet ordered The Slight Edge, order it. That's what we're starting with next. We'll make the announcement on the team page soon. And y'all, this is one, let me stop this recording.